Happy Thursday, everyone. It's me, Miss Lindsay. I'm here at the Literacy Studio. I am the owner and founder of Language and Literacy of the Treasure Coast. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the parent perspective of having a child with a learning disability. So my daughter currently is finishing up her first grade year. And at the beginning of this school year, I enrolled her in a homeschool co-op because of COVID. I wasn't sure what the public schools would look like, and I needed another option. It wasn't my first option, but due to COVID, I put her into a homeschool co-op that was for differentiated learners, and she just blossomed. And I was just like, oh, my daughter, she's so smart. Look at her, she's doing so well. I'm so proud of her. And I was just that parent that was like, oh, my daughter is so perfect and amazing, and she's not gonna struggle like I did. And I'm just so happy. Well, in January, the public schools weren't shutting down. So we decided to put her back into public school. So she went back to her public school, and all of a sudden, my daughter, who was blooming and flourishing in this setting that had multi-sensory learning, was now struggling. And her homeschool co-op teacher had approached me earlier that year and asked me, do you think Emma has dyslexia? And I told her, no, my daughter doesn't have dyslexia. My daughter does have dyslexia. I didn't want to see it because I didn't want her to struggle the way that I've struggled. And so I just refused to see it. But when I put her back in public school, it was kind of like a big slap in my face of, your daughter has a learning disability. So I requested for her to get evaluated by the speech language pathologist. And when we had our IEP meeting with her, the speech language pathologist told us her findings. I explained our background of me being diagnosed with dyslexia and dysgraphia and dyscalculia and all those things. And she agreed with me that Emma does have dyslexia. And we talked about different types of strategies and interventions. And I really had to tell them what I wanted, because I kept getting told, well, she's not suffering academically and she's not having behaviors. So there's really no need for us to have her in a RTI. And I just said, I don't want her to fail before we start helping her. What's the point of that? And so that's part of the advocacy part of where I come from, is we don't need our kids to start failing before we finally step up and say, okay, they need some extra help. Let's help them now when we start seeing little red flags, because if they're not struggling now, they're going to struggle later on when the demands become harder. So now my daughter is receiving level 2 RTI, and she's doing better. And thankfully, her teacher has a child who has dyslexia and has been able to really help her in the classroom. I still work with her at home on some strategies. We do get frustrated. Doing math homework takes a really long time. At one point, she was trying to do math homework on Facebook Messenger with a friend from school, and her friend was just blowing through the math homework and leaving her in the dust, and my daughter's trying to keep up, and she couldn't keep up. She couldn't keep up with her friend, and as a parent, my heart was breaking, and she started crying, and I just told her, I understand, I know why you're frustrated. It's so frustrating, but you can do this. It may take you longer, but you can do this. And that's something that I took a lot with about my students here, is you can do this. It's gonna take longer. Everything I do takes longer than other people, but it's just something that we have to accept, and we have to hone in on our strengths and use our strengths to help our weaknesses. So one of the fact and fiction things I wanted to cover today was, a lot I hear is, they can read, they don't have dyslexia. That is false. Yesterday, my daughter read to me this whole handout about the octopus, and there were all these hard words in it, but she has excellent orthography. What that means is that she has an excellent ability to remember words when she sees a word and can tell me what word that is. If I asked her to spell that word, she wouldn't know how to, because she doesn't have the basic foundation of phonemic awareness is what we call it, understanding what sound each letter makes and how to put it together to make that word. So yes, she can read, but as the tests become harder and as the expectations become higher, that's when we're going to start seeing that gap in her learning compared to her peers. So that's why I was so strong in implementing early intervention in the classroom. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of the parenting side. I understand as a parent, I cried when I heard that my daughter had dyslexia too, because I know what I went through, and I'm sure as a parent, many of you guys can identify with this. And I will be talking next week more about more facts and fiction of dyslexia and learning disabilities. Please like, subscribe, and share to my page. Bye, y'all.